Then Virginia Congresswoman Jennifer Wexton says she won't seek re-election after learning her health issues have worsened. She calls her condition Parkinson's on steroids. DC News Now's evening anchor Chris Flanagan spoke with a neurologist at the George Washington University Hospital about the rare disorder in today's What's Going Around.
How rare is progressive supranuclear palsy?
Progressive supranuclear palsy, or PSP, is a rare neurodegenerative disorder. On average, the incidence of PSP is somewhere in the range of 0.3 to 0.4 per 100,000 people. So it's very rare to have this form of neurodegenerative disease.
Dr. Ghosh, do we know what causes PSP?
We don't exactly know what causes PSP. And we do know that PSP is caused in part by the deposition of certain proteins in your neurons called tau and neurofibrillary tangles. And it can actually it can aggregate in your in various cells in the brain. Not just actually the nerve cells themselves, but some of the supportive cells around there. And it can lead to a degenerative process.
Congressman Wexton calls her diagnosis Parkinson's on steroids. What do patients typically see? What are the symptoms, and are there any early warning signs?
So by the time a person starts to really notice the symptoms of PSP, they've probably had it for a few years. Typically, some of the first symptoms a person may start to experience are things like having falls or balance problems, difficulty walking. Oftentimes, a person's posture might be different, where they might be, more erect or their head sort of bent upwards. They may also sometimes have stiffness more in the sort of torso or, in the shoulders and hips as opposed to, in the hands and feet, things like that. They might have blurred vision because it can affect your eye movements and how you coordinate your eye movements, and that can lead to, double vision.
Dr. Ghosh, we know this is a very debilitating disease. Is there any cure for PSP?
Unfortunately, at this time, there is not a cure that actually stops the disease process from progressing. Neurodegenerative diseases progress, and at this time we treat each of the symptoms that develop symptomatically. So we have treatments for the cognitive symptoms, the movement symptoms, some of the other sleep-related or other symptoms that can develop, but nothing to actually stop the disease process. Fortunately, there are some studies going on now to look at some potential therapies in the future.
Well, Dr. Ghosh, I really appreciate you taking some time and lending some insight and your expertise on this topic. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.